Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is May the 8th, 2023. Before we get started, last week there was a problem with the audio. I apologize if that bugged you. No one really said anything, so I guess it didn't really matter. Dr. McFarlane noticed it. And what happened was, in case anyone wants to know, the Apollo Twin was not connecting to my computer, so I had to trash the preferences files on the Mac to reset it. And when it reset it, it reset the matrix where it adds the main output twice. So you were hearing like that phasey robotic voice. And I said I had a tired voice, which I did, but it wasn't that tired that I sounded like a robot. So hopefully today it sounds fine. Let me know if this sounds okay today. It should sound normal today, not like last week's show. And that's the reason why. And that's the reason why when you do these videos, you should always do a quick test, especially if something has changed. Because I forgot that it's been so long since I changed the settings on the interface that I forgot that can happen. And then I went live and it was messed up. So sorry about that. Should be back to normal this week. Let's start with saying hi to the early risers, so to speak. T's here. How you doing? Good to see you, T. Jasper's here. Good to see you. Are you a big fan of Yamaha guitars? Yes, I'm a fan, but I'm not really an owner. You know, I've said that a few times here. I always worry about some things I say on the channel in case I sound like a complete lunatic. But I guess I'm a complete lunatic. Otherwise, I wouldn't go live and talk about guitars every week, would I? So my thing about Yamaha is best value guitars, some of the best made guitars, great sounding guitars. Just, I don't know, really. I find it hard to even say it. This continues from what I was saying last week. I don't even want to say it anymore. I was gonna say I want certain brand names on the headstock. I want Gibson, Fender, and Martin. But I thought about that during the week, and I just thought how crazy it sounds. It's absolutely nuts. Like, why do I feel that way? Why do I think that way? As I get older, like, I don't really care what jeans I wear, what t-shirts I wear. Why do I care about that with guitars? It's something that I'm still exploring, and maybe you can let me know in the chat. Do you feel the same way? Do you find yourself drawn to certain brands? And some people won't admit to it. I know people like that as well. That they'll say, "Oh, I like all guitars." You know, it'd be silly to only like one brand. But is that reality? I think a lot of people suffer from that. And also, there's practical reasons, as we've said in the past before as well, like resale value. So I finally sold the Reverend. I sold it very, very cheap. I can't remember what I sold it for now. Around $700 to a store who will probably sell it on for a profit. But I figured that's more than I would get from Guitar Center. Nothing against Guitar Center used. I think it's a great system. Obviously, they've got to buy it off you cheaper to sell it and make money themselves. But there we go. I lost about $900 on that guitar. Absolute craziness. So stupid, but terrible purchase on my behalf. I also think you shouldn't buy things with that in mind. You know, I think if you're buying and selling constantly, that's not a very good thing either. We should be buying things we should get the choice right the first time and keep them, and not resell them. But in my experience, yeah, Yamaha has good resale value. Because the thing about Yamaha is they have been around for many, many, many years, and they've been played by many famous people. So there's no reason why they shouldn't have the same kind of reputation as Martin and Taylor and Gibson and all the rest of them, right? There's no reason. So I just have that with some brands. Some brands I just think are excellent. It's just not my time. It's not what I'm personally attracted to at the time, but I'd have no problem recommending them. I mean, that atmosphere pickup in the Red Label guitars is excellent. That's one of the best all-round guitars on the market. It's just that I don't want to take it to a gig. I don't know. It's very strange. The Silent guitar, way ahead of its time. I do have one of those. Great guitar, great tool, great instrument. But you don't see them that often, really. So we'll talk. I think we'll need to explore that some more. You know, as part of my downsizing and deciding what instruments I'm going to be keeping, these are some of the questions I have for myself. Now, some of my decisions on what instruments I want to keep long term are based on reliability. Yes, resale value, because we all change our minds at some point. Maybe maybe not next week. Maybe in 5 years' time. So resale value, warranty. Is it easy to get to a repair center? Well, I'll talk about this later in the show with some problems I've had this week with some instruments. So all those things do factor in as well. And then what do you want to play personally? Because we can only play one guitar at a time, right? So if you had a gig tonight, what do you want to play? And why would you choose that instrument? Are you choosing it because of the look, which is important, let's face it, the sound, which is probably the most important thing to a musician, the reliability, the branding, the features? Why are you choosing that thing? Anyway, we'll talk about that more later on. I think it's basically going into the point of all this gear search, isn't it? Stuff, questions like that. Hello, Bernard. Sunny Suffolk. Very good. Rosanna. Good evening, Air. It's very hot here. I'm starting to sweat already. Rosanna's got the spanner next to her name. That means she is moderating. Thank you, Rosanna. And David says, good afternoon, everybody. Patsy Smith. Hello, Rosanna. We had floods a few days ago. Now the weather's sunny. Very good. Marco, have you heard the Oasis AI versions? They're quite incredible. And I got to admit, I'm really enjoying them. Someone's taken Noel Gallagher solo songs and turned them into Oasis songs with AI, artificial intelligence. And it's almost like listening to, because I didn't really listen to Noel Gallagher's solo stuff. It's not really my thing. I like it. I don't love it like the Oasis stuff. But with Liam singing on it and Noel harmonizing, it gives it a whole new feel. And it really sounds like the missing Oasis album. It's really quite fascinating. And I'm really enjoying it. There's someone... Star-Shaped Tambourine, this guy on, I think it's a guy on YouTube, and he's remaking these Oasis songs. It's quite mind-blowing when you think about it. But some of the bad AI cover versions are just running the vocal through an algorithm to change the lead singer to another voice. This person actually says he has to sing parts of it again. So the problem is, if you just run the AI through Noel's voice, it will still have Noel's expressions and phrasing. So by singing it again in the style of Liam and then applying his voice, you get both things at once. You get really close. Obviously, both things are important. Okay, we're talking amongst ourselves. Prodigal Nation, you left out Taylor. I like the hi-fi sound and superior neck joint. I'll use that $500 for my next Taylor instead of the dreaded neck reset. Yeah. You know, I've never had a. We'll talk. I'll come back to this. No. In fact, let's talk about it now. I'll get lost. So these are good questions, good points today. So Taylor's another one. I want to like Taylor. I just haven't really ever found one, especially since they changed the V-class bracing, that I really love. And they all come with their proprietary pickup, which I think sounds really great. But I've always found it had a weak high E string for me. And it's not my favorite system. So it's one so Yamaha is a company that I really respect and recommend, but I don't buy them. Taylor's a company that I want to like. I really want to like them, but I can't find the guitar that I really want to buy. That's the problem. That's the honest truth, because I do appreciate their innovation, their reliability, their repairability, their adjustability, everything about them. And even as a brand, the way they've changed the industry with their CNC techniques. I mean, they've had a lot of influence on people like Martin. Martin had to up their game when Taylor came along. So it's a company that I really want to like. And my first serious guitar was a Taylor. It was a Taylor 414 CE with the Fishman pickup. We played that for years. So really want to like them, really want to get one, but I just haven't found one. Of course, these days it's hard to find instruments anyway to play, but that's where I'm at with Taylor. So that's a company that I want to like, but I need to find the right one. We were talking about them the other week when Lee played one he really liked. As I say with all brands, there's many different instruments. You can't judge the company on one guitar, right? Because they make many different things and they keep changing them as well. So the neck joint arguably is superior. Well, it's superior because Martin now make a neck joint similar on their SC guitars. And I will say this, though. I've never had a Martin need a neck reset. Now, you'll say to me, well, you've never had a Martin for very long because you always changed it. That's the truth, yeah. Has anyone here ever had a Martin neck reset done? Is a good question. It's a bit like the argument for stainless steel frets, isn't it? I've only had frets leveled crowned and leveled once or twice, but again, I've not kept guitars around that long, and that's probably why. If everyone used stainless steel frets, we wouldn't have to worry about that. But people don't really use stainless steel frets, and some people say they don't like stainless steel frets. So it's another topic right there. We'll keep talking. I'm going to keep moving forward the comments, but we'll keep coming back to these topics because they're all very good topics. Danielle says the Yamaha SA2200 semi-hollow gets a lot of praise in jazz circles as a semi-hollow guitar. I'll say it again. Their instruments are the best for the money. Definitely. I've had a Strat style guitar, $500, amazing instrument. Could easily play in a band with that. I had the $300 guitar I reviewed. That was excellent. I don't have that anymore. I had the Red Label. I had a couple of Red Labels. I sold those, but great. Probably the best all-round guitars I've ever played. And they've just released a new line of high-end guitars that are coming out this year, around $4,000 or $5,000. And again, I'll say it. I'm sure they're as good or even arguably better than the D45s out there. I'm sure they are. But that's not everything that matters to people. If all that mattered was value and sound, we wouldn't have these YouTube videos, would we? We would just all buy Yamahas and not talk about it. So. John says, if I had any interest in an electric guitar, I would have bought it. Which one's that? John Washburn. Oh, the Reverend guitar. Yeah, that really. I'm not here to sell my stuff to you watching, by the way. But if I ever do have something in mint condition that I'm selling, I'm going to mention it because remember, I can't talk now. I'm in the USA. Everyone thinks I'm in England. I'm not. I'm in America. And I'm not going to ship outside of America, but there's a lot of Americans watching, and if I'm ever selling something, I will just put it in the live stream. I won't make a video about it. I'll just put it in the live stream that I'm selling it, because hopefully you trust me by now. I've been on a long time, and if you're a regular viewer, we could sort something out. So I will just throw it out there occasionally, but that was an example of a guitar losing a lot of money. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but I'm going to say it because it might help somebody. Bear these things in mind. Cole Clark, Reverend, at the minute, they do not have those sort of resale values. Right now, nothing has resale value because the market has really crashed for used gear after the massive rise we had in the lockdown. If I'd sold all my guitars in the lockdown, it would have been a very smart move, but we were all rabbits in the headlights then, right? I didn't know what was going on, so I didn't think like that. Yeah, you're welcome, Jasper. I would like to check out that new series that's coming out this year, the $4,000 ones. But they're dreadnoughts, and actually, my main guitar now is a dreadnought, but I don't usually gravitate towards dreadnoughts. I'm looking for a guitar for a friend, acoustic for under €1,000. Found a few all solid wood, Guild, Westerly, Guild, F150, and a few Epiphones. I'll check Yamaha next. Yeah, I'll say it again, best value, definitely. So if you're looking for under €1,000, my default is always those Red Labels. If you want mahogany. If you want rosewood, then there's some other ones to look at. But if you want mahogany, and if you don't want electronics, they do a smaller body and a larger body. And you can get the FS3, FS5. If you get the FS5, it comes with a hard case. It's made in Japan. Sorry, the FG5, FS5, yeah. So they're $1,400, bit over the budget, but I mean, incredible instrument around that price, right? And then if you get the FG or FS3, which is made, I think, in China, but I think they're just as good. In fact, I preferred the FG3 because the pickguard was smooth and not that textured wood. I actually played and owned both at one point, and I really do think that they're very comparable. People will disagree with me, but I think they are. So if your budget is under $1,000, for $839, you can get the FG3. That's just amazing. I will say that. That's absolutely incredible. Let's just jump over to the screen so I can show you what I'm talking about. You see, this is solid wood, $839.99. Imagine if you found one of these used. I sold one of these used. I got one of these for around $600 in a great deal last year, and I sold it for what I paid for it. Around that, but 600 was incredible. That was a really lucky find. But even at $840, what a great deal! All solid wood, great sounding guitar, very loud. Just excellent. And this one comes with a gig bag. The Japanese made one comes with a hard case. You might prefer the gig bag. And then if you need electronics, the electronics in these guitars, the Atmosphere system is one of the best first party systems out there at the moment. It's basically like the Cole Clark, but a bit lighter. And I don't think it sounds as good as the Cole Clark myself, but it's a bit lighter and sort of retains more of the acoustic guitar, I feel. So, Yeah, that's what I would do without a doubt. So again, I like to recommend these. I don't want to own one, and with Taylor, I want to own one, but I can't find. I never found one that I liked. So that's yeah. Give me some more brands, and I'll tell you what I think. Remember, it's just my opinion. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Lee's here. Now, Lee played a Taylor he liked the other week. So did you buy that Taylor, Lee? Let's find that out. That'd be good research here. Marco heard the Oasis covers. That's good. Someone's mentioned hi-fi, but they weren't talking about the hi-fi pickup. They were talking about the hi-fi sound of the Taylor. But the hi-fi is now shipping. People should have these tomorrow or the next day. I've done a ton of videos on it. I will do a final review. I'm not gigging with it. I decided to put the Anthem SL in my main guitar for gigging, which I can talk about if you want me to. I do think it's a very good system. I think it's as good or better than any of the other Kontakt pickup systems. It's a good price at $199. You get the preamp with it. And yeah, I'm interested to see what others say about it, because obviously, again, it's all just my opinion. And although I try not to listen to other people's opinions too much, because it can drive you crazy when you do that on these forums and things, I do want to see what people say that I know about the hi-fi. It'd be interesting to get their input. But it says that it's coming soon. That means they've sold out of the first batch. So there is still a big interest in acoustic guitar, it seems. They've sold out the first batch of hi-fi pickups, and there's another batch coming in a couple of weeks, I believe. And also, thanks to everyone that used my affiliate link in my videos to buy one. A few people bought these with my affiliate link. I appreciate it. That's really nice. And let me know what you think of it when you get it and install it. Okay, back to the chat again. Hello, John. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Alan's here. Good to see you from Portugal. Good to see you, Alan. Yeah, it's been a long time. I like this. People obviously have things come up and they disappear. I like it when they come back again. It's nice. Nice to see the old name, the OG names back in the chat. Prodigal Nation says you should try out the AD22. V-Class pairs well with mahogany top. Then there's also the issue with Martin's binding. Right, let's talk about Martin binding. And by the way, I'm saying it again, I'm not a fanboy. I've got lots of negative things I could say about Martin and lots of other brands as well if I wanted to. The binding for me has never been an issue, right? I've owned so many Martins over the years, and I've never had, can I just knock on wood quickly? Because you know what's going to happen tonight. I've never had the binding come off a Martin, and I do believe that there was a time frame of guitars where this was a problem and they changed the process. So again, it's one of those things that everyone talks about on Facebook. The binding came off, the binding came off, the binding came off. I've never ever had that. So I don't know. I can only talk from my experience. I know people have had it happen, but I've never had that particular problem. Now back to your mahogany thing. By the way, I just saw my neck is red. That's because I had a shave before I came on. I always do that. I have a late gig on Sunday. I wake up late on Monday and shave before I go live. And every week I tell myself I must shave the night before so my skin isn't sensitive on the show. I never do it. So forgive me. I did play a mahogany Taylor a few weeks ago, and all mahogany, and it did sound good. It just sounded a bit on the quiet side. But it did sound a nice tone, but one of the nicest tones I've heard from a Taylor. I will throw that in there. But again, I've tried that pickup a few times, and I'm a bit kind of wary of it. I'm not sure about that. You know how fussy I am with my pickups. And then Danielle says, I had a D18 neck reset done at the 25-year mark. So yeah, 25 years is pretty good, isn't it? And I wonder how much a neck reset is these days. Obviously, the price in New York City will be very different to the price in Ohio, etc. That's a generalization, but it's got some sort of truth to it. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. If that's the thing, you know, if you do like the sound of your Martin, then that comes with the territory, doesn't it? Having to have that neck reset done in 25 years. If you like the sound of your Taylor, then you're laughing because you haven't got to do that. Taylors have a fully adjustable neck that can be done at any time. Remember, Martin's had non-adjustable truss rods until the mid-1980s, which is crazy. Alan says, I just bought a Yamaha FGC TA today, a B-stock from Portuguese music store, being sent to a cafe up the road. FGC TA. FGCTA. Oh, that's a transacoustic. Yeah. Yep, I've always wanted one of those, but that transacoustic part does add weight to it. So you've really got to want the transacoustic thing in there to buy it, but it does sound good. I tried a few of those add-on systems or other brands that do a similar thing to the transacoustic, and I didn't like them. And the transacoustic does less things than some of those, but it does them better. So I've played one at Guitar Center. I felt like it did the few effects it has doesn't have, like some of the other ones have like 50 effects. The transacoustic has a few, but they're much better quality from what I discovered. I think, just in case you wonder what I'm talking about, I think I'm talking about the High Vibe system. That has a looper and backing tracks and blah, 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 but I had some problems with it when I tried it a year ago. And then the transacoustic, I tried it. It does less things, and I found it did them better. So, but the thing about that is I personally usually plug into the PA anyway at home, so I don't really need built-in reverb, but it is nice having it all in the guitar. It's a nice party trick too, isn't it? When you show your friends that the guitar has built-in effects like that. It's pretty cool. And again, they're great guitars. I mean, look, let me just show you this one. 779, that's really, really good. 779 for a cutaway Dreadnought with the Atmosphere system built in. That's the controls on the side. And I don't know if that's solid wood. I'm going to guess it's not, but I don't know. I can't believe it would be for that price. You see, this really annoys me, this thing. Top wood, solid spruce. Okay, great. Back and sides, mahogany. Now, is that solid mahogany or laminate? In my experience, you've got to be careful with this with guitars. I mean, not that specs are everything, by the way, but let me just move my head. Not that specs are everything, but the thing about mahogany, when it just says mahogany, that I think that means laminate mahogany. What they do is they leave out the word. So rather than say laminate mahogany, they just put mahogany. So if it was solid mahogany, I'm sure they put solid mahogany. Because it's not, they leave the word out. I don't like that. That tripped me up on one of my reviews. I said something was solid and it wasn't because they did that. It's a bit like if I say that I was once on BBC Radio and I was actually on BBC Radio Suffolk, but I leave out the word Suffolk. It sounds more impressive, right? Aaron Short was featured on BBC Radio versus Aaron Short was featured on BBC Radio Suffolk. Okay. Not there's anything wrong with Suffolk, by the way, but you get my point. But congratulations, Alan. Let us know next week how it is. Brian says, I've liked a couple of Yamaha guitars in my life. Always come back to the nut, feeling a little on the narrow side. Well, they do have narrow nut guitars and, not regular, because that's not the right phrase, but 1 3/4 inch nuts. So the Red Label guitars have the 1 3/4 inch nut. So that's why I recommend them. A lot of people will like that. Thomann started selling Martins in Europe. Yes, I saw that. And they just had a big acoustic event as well. What happened to the new in? You mean the news? I'm not... I've been a bit lazy with the news, but the thing is, I haven't done the news if there aren't a lot of stories. So the week after NAMM, there was nothing. I think there was one thing. Last week, there was like 2 things. So I just didn't do it. Once we get more stuff coming, I will do it. My schedule picked up a lot as well. I don't make excuses, but I had, like this week, I played Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. But the news is very quiet. Actually, we just had the NAMM show, so this is the worst time of year for news. Noise Buffet. When I visited London, all I did was fish and chips and that guitar shop row. What a great time. Yeah, that is Denmark Street is a good place to go shopping. Very patient and let me play everything for too long. John says, if I had a gig tonight, I'd probably take the guitar I trust and not the guitar I prefer for and tone. Fortunately, it looks great. What Mayer Martins, Nick? Oh, okay. New instrument. Yeah. I thought you meant what happened to the news. You meant what happened to the new Mayer Martins, right? They, the last thing I heard is that John Mayer wanted to make a change to the specifications and design, a very small one. So therefore, they couldn't show them at NAMM. The cynical part of me still thinks that they did that just to create a huge news thing because it was NAMM, and John Mayer always generates a huge amount of hype and interest online. So the cynical part, the cynical side of me is going to say they deliberately let one of the stores or two of the stores leak those images, that image, to get the pre-orders in, to get the interest, to get people talking around the NAMM show. Now, I've said that about things in the past and been completely wrong. That's why I said the cynical part of me. I might be completely wrong, but as far as I know, they are still coming. There's been a small change. I don't know what that is. I don't know if we'll ever find out what that was, but they are still coming and should be out by the end of the year. I think the OMJM will be out in a few months' time, and I think the 45 version will be out at the end of the year. And I think they've had hundreds of pre-orders around the world, and yet no one's seen them apart from one little picture, which I find quite crazy as well. And I also think a lot of people are buying them to sell them in the future because people know that the original OM28 John Mayer is now worth 20 grand in mint condition, and they were 3 grand when they came out. I think some people are buying them to potentially sell them in the future, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think that's a mistake, in my opinion, because I don't think the 45 will have the headroom to resell it and make a profit on it like the original one did. And I also don't think that it will be as desirable as that instrument because John isn't even playing it at the moment. And that's why I think to buy that as a collector is, I mean, I might be completely wrong, and in 10 years they go for 100 grand, and then you can play this video to me and laugh, but I don't think it's going to happen. So again, just my opinion. My gig is Tuesday. Awesome. Where's your gig and what are you going to take? I just did a session yesterday. I did an online lesson. Online lesson sounds like school, doesn't it? But I had actually, I don't think he's even a viewer. Someone that found one of my videos wanted a tutorial on the Boss looper pedals. So I did that. And we also talked about the gear he would take to the gig. And I thought it was really interesting. So he told me what he was going to buy for this gig. And I recommended what I think he should get instead. And that was a really good session. I've done a few of those and they're very good. T says, you have to see solid before the wood name. Martin do the same with their necks. Yes, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy that as someone that's been into guitars for so long, got tripped up by that. You know, like I've been into guitars for so long, and I made that Yamaha review a few years ago and said solid back and sides, solid top, and it wasn't. And I just felt so stupid because I didn't realize they just left the word out. I thought it would say laminate, but it didn't. And so that's why I'm telling people watching this in case they didn't realize that. Taking my D45 and doing vocals, that's very nice. So do you have a pickup in the guitar, in the D45, or are you going to use a microphone? That's a good question. Alan says, the mahogany on the Yamaha is not solid. I didn't want that. I live in a camper and we jam outside. Right, that's also a good point. Solid wood isn't always better. Right? Solid wood isn't always better because sometimes you want that laminate because laminate is more durable than solid wood. So that's a good point too. For everything, there's a good and a bad side. So I was playing on Thursday night and my pickup died on the Cole Clark and it really annoyed me. But luckily it came back. And the reason I think about that is, but yeah, it came back to life. But the reason I'm saying this is I keep talking about Cole Clark all the time and I want to make sure my opinion is fair and balanced and give you all my information, not just say it's a great thing. I did have a problem with it. I have told Cole Clark and they are aware of this. They are aware it could happen and they do have a new enclosure that should prevent it from happening that they're sending to me that I'll switch out. But I guess the advice I want to give you is if you buy one now, you should buy a brand new one that's just been made so these kinks have been ironed out, you know, because that's what can happen with any. Remember, as also with any new gear, there can always be little bugs and things that come along with it. And the Cole Clark system was revised a year ago. So I guess over the time they find out things that can be done better and improved. So the bad news is that happened. I lost all the treble, I lost the sound. I was about to end the gig early. I shook the guitar, hit on the guitar, it came back to life. I got through the gig very nervously. And that's the bad news. The good news is they are aware of it. They have a replacement part. They can easily fix it. So that's great. But I would just say to you, don't buy a used Cole Clark because A, I don't like the old system as much as the new system, and B, you'd want to get one that's just been made now so it has that modification in the guitar and you haven't got to worry about switching it out later. It's very easy to switch that part out. It's just the battery component where the jack is, the output jack. Yeah, not input jack. But I don't want to deal with that stuff. And in fact, since then I've been playing the Martin again with the Anthem SL, and I think I'm going to stick with that for at least or maybe forever, because I just don't want to deal with problems. No, but someone said to me the other week, what happens with taking a spare guitar? So, of course, the ideal situation is you take a spare guitar and just switch and get on with it. But I still think a great way to do this is to take a passive sound hole pickup, preferably one you can install with your fingers and not with a screwdriver. But take the pickup and the screwdriver if needed and install that in the sound hole to get through the rest of the gig. And this is why I don't want anything in the sound hole of an acoustic guitar, so I can install that sound hole pickup as quickly as possible when needed. So that's what I would do. But that night, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to put the guitar down in front of everyone, get the sound hole pickup out, get the screwdriver out, put it in the sound hole, stand there screwing it in. I just felt I looked stupid. So I didn't. But that is a way around it. If you're doing a really important gig and the guitar dies before your break, you could take that break and put that sound hole pickup in and get back in business. So I do like that strategy if it's not possible to take a second guitar with you. All right. So learn from my mistakes. It is, yeah, T, you're right. And that's why I want to outline it here on the show. Make sure we're aware of this. Okay. If a wood doesn't say solid, it's probably laminate, because they're not going to, if a wood is solid, they're going to say it's solid. And if it doesn't say anything, it's probably laminate. So make sure you confirm that. Chazza, how you doing? Been a long time. Good to see you here again. T says 1 minute mahogany was mahogany and then it wasn't. I know. Well, the serious side of this is wood is running out. They have to find other woods. You'll notice a lot of things they've been doing lately, the guitar companies, to mitigate this. A lot of guitars have switched to sunburst and printed finishes. I'm talking about Martin, by the way. Sunburst, I'm talking about Taylor. One of the whole lines of Taylors has now gone to sunburst. And some of the new Martins that are cheaper, more affordable, sorry, are printed on top. And the reason that companies do this, partly, again, in my opinion, I just want to put on the screen, in my opinion. This podcast should be called In My Opinion. It's because the wood doesn't look quite as nice as they want it to. And so they do stuff over the top of it. They don't want the bare wood because it doesn't look maybe as some people. Some people don't care about it. Some people do. And that's why they do it. So bear that in mind, right? But the woods are running out. And I also think these companies need to start looking at carbon fiber and alternate materials, because the woods will just keep running out. And we're making way too many guitars, aren't we? There's like millions of guitars being made every week. So, and something else, another amateur mistake I made this week. I left my capo out of the guitar case, so I didn't have a capo on one of the gigs. I always say on here, have a capo in every gig bag, every guitar case, every desk, every drawer, and then that way you're never without one. Because the worst thing you can do is to grab the capo from your guitar case to restring the guitar or practice at home, and then get to the gig and you don't have the capo with you. That's so annoying. So I'm about to order some more, actually. I was actually going to do it right now. Not order them and show you my credit card, but I'm going to get some more of these G7th capos for that very reason. I think it's, maybe you don't need to do this. Maybe you're not maybe you're more focused than I am. Maybe you don't do things like that. Maybe you remember to put stuff back where you found it. But for me, I just want the capo to always be in the bag. So I use these G7 Performance 3s live. I do like the Newport as well. The regular one, not the 12-string, obviously. But at a gig, I like the Performance 3. So I would get a bunch of these. I'd have one in my electric case, one in my acoustic case, one in my cable bag, one in my guitar string changing kit, one on my desk at home. So basically 5 capos. I think I've got 3, so I'm going to buy 2 more of these. Yes, they're not the most affordable, but they're the best in my opinion. And I just never want to get to a gig and realize I forgot my capo and I can't play a certain song, especially if that song is a part of the gig, right? So when we finish here, I should be ordering probably 2 of those G7th capos. Alan said it's a very fine line between playing a gig and stand there trying not to look stupid. I disagree. Well, I know what you mean about the pickup. You know, the fact of the matter is, no one noticed. I even was silly and said on the mic, like, oh, I got a problem. I was so shocked. I've never had this happen in so long now that I was so shocked that I was like, oh, I might have to end the gig now. I just really couldn't fathom what was going on. I was like, what's going on? Is it the cable? Is it the... and it's really annoying, you know? Of course, things do go wrong. Things do happen. I get that too. But to bring us back to our earlier point, Cole Clark are good because they've offered to send me the part express. I'll probably have it in a few days. That's great. But what if you buy a guitar from another country and you can't get the parts very quickly? You know, what if they don't have? What if the company you buy from doesn't have good customer service? The great thing about buying a standard guitar and a standard pickup system like the Anthem, and when I say standard, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean a part that you can easily replace. You know, you can go to Guitar Center that same night and buy another one and have it installed before the next morning. This stuff is important as well. Reliability, repeatability. I keep saying that all the time. So someone asked me, in fact, the luthier that reinstalled the Anthem SL into the guitar that just had the hi-fi in it, asked me which one I preferred. And I told him that I do think he should put the hi-fi in his clients' guitars because I think most people will like it. But for me, I still want the Anthem SL. And one of the reasons is I've gigged it for 10 years now and it's not let me down. I'm not saying the hi-fi let me down, but it's new, right? To me, this stuff is important. And I'm also not saying that it won't let me down. It could easily die as well. But the point is, like I said, I could go to Guitar Center the next day and have a new one installed before the next night. And even though Cole Clark have great customer service and they're shipping me a new part for the guitar, I've still got to email them, wait for the part, install it, and then get going again. So that's the point I'm trying to make. So I factor this stuff in as well. It's not just about what's the best or what sounds the best. There's many other things to consider as well. Okay, so the last couple of gigs I used the HDC. So it had the full Anthem in it. I pulled that out and I put the SL in there, which is the same but without the blend, without the phase, without the battery check. I don't use those features, so I didn't want to have them. The controls are a bit smaller. You can recess them. The sound hole is then clear. And if the pickup does then die at a gig, it's easy to install a sound hole pickup and keep playing. So that's cool. Okay, T says, use solid wood acoustics are the way to go. I agree. And if you're going to buy Relic, you may as well buy used anyway. And also, you'll get those woods that you can't get anymore. So I've been saying that for a few weeks now. Don't underestimate the used market. And sometimes you see new old stock guitars. I've seen a lot lately, new old stock guitars that are basically brand new and naturally aged for a fraction of the price. And even if they're not a fraction of the price, they might have nicer woods from 10 years ago. Yes, I agree. They're my favorite capos. I really can't say enough good things about them. And I do a couple of these they did give to me because I met them at the NAMM show, but I've got no problem buying a couple more. They're just part of my rig now. I can't be without them, you know. Jasper says, instead of drilling an extra hole, I bought the Nomad Acoustalock. Why would you need to drill an extra hole? Let's see what that is. I do like Music Nomad. They're good. Nomad Lock. Music Nomad. They make good stuff, don't they? But I can't find the Acoustilock because they make so much stuff now. I can't find anything. Oh, I got it. Someone else makes something like this, I believe. I've seen something similar. I've seen these a few times. I can't get my head around what they are, what they're for. Hang on, let me think about this. I don't understand the point of this thing. Maybe you can explain it to me. So, I mean, that's a Taylor, right? So that's where you plug your guitar in, but that's also where you put your guitar strap. So why do you need this additional one coming off of it? Maybe it sticks out more, easy to put the strap on that part than it is on this one. But I don't understand that, because if you put the strap on this one and then you put the guitar cable in, the guitar cable then acts as a lock, doesn't it? It locks it in place. That's why I don't understand these things. So okay, so that hole there at the bottom that I'm showing you there, that's where your input, I always say input jack, output jack would be, right? That's where the output jack would be. So you plug your cable in there, and then you put your strap on this one. Now I understand that, and I'm sure that this one at the top is sticking out more than the bottom one, which means that you can easily get the strap on. So that makes sense. Sometimes straps are hard to get on those N-pin jacks, right? But the thing for me is I like to put the strap on that N-pin jack and then plug the cable into it, which then secures the strap. Actually, my Martin with the Anthem has their proprietary box, and that has a bit like this. It has the strap and then the hole, two separate things, which I guess is fine, whatever. But I like the idea of the cable securing the strap in the same hole. I think that's a good thing. So I don't really understand why you want that, but maybe you can tell me, because I honestly don't know why. Thomas, good to see you. Yeah, I don't know. There must be a reason. Like I said, there's been some straps that are so thick that they don't go easily onto N-pin jacks. I do that is a problem. Yeah, that's a problem. But otherwise, I'd actually prefer the cable to secure the strap on the jack myself. So let me know. Yeah. So. And then one more thing I want to add in here, that I did last week I spoke about the modifications I'm going to do. I bought all the stuff for modifications, and I thought to myself, I think I'm making a huge mistake. So I think I'm going to return some of it. What I'm going to do is the strap behind me, I'm going to do the mods to it tomorrow. I'm going to change the tuners to locking vintage style tuners, because I really think they make a big difference. I'm going to put the 3-string tree on, because I think those stagger tuners are overrated. I think it needs a string tree. I think that'll be a big upgrade. I'm going to put the Highwood saddles on, because I think they'll be much more comfortable under the hand, and they hold the strings better. And I'm going to put 2 more springs in the tremolo, so it's 5 springs and not 3, so it doesn't move around quite as much as it does now. I'm going to do it to that guitar and see how that goes. And if that really makes it noticeably better, I might do it to another guitar. But the thing is, I'm thinking about selling my other guitars anyway. So, and then you talking about resale value, that's the problem as well, because the Sir guitar that I unboxed a few months ago that they repaired for me, that I said I love, has become a bit of a problem, because the tuners suck. Like, you have to turn the tuner halfway around the thing for it to engage. That's not normal. And they won't send me another set, and they said that, I said I'll just replace them with these locking tuners, and they said, okay, but you'll void your warranty if you put the string tree on. I said, well, that's fine. And then they also have the saddles that are really uncomfortable, so I have to replace the saddles. Now, these are things that can be reversed apart from the string tree, right? But I was just thinking to myself yesterday, that's crazy, because if I do that and I want to sell the guitar, if I just end up getting annoyed with it and want to sell it, I'm going to lose loads of money. Because what happens is, when you modify a guitar and you sell it, they use that against you, which is fair enough, right? You've changed the guitar. If you've installed a string tree and they don't want one, they're going to beat you down on the price because they don't want a string tree, even if you can argue that the string tree improves the guitar. So that's a big no-no on these boutique instruments. So I'm not going to do that. I might just sell that guitar. I was actually, someone mentioned last week about the Ultra Strats. I might just get a Fender Ultra Strat from Sweetwater that has the locking tuners, the string tree, the comfortable bridge, the modern neck, the cutout in the neck, noiseless pickups. I might just get one of those, keep the one behind me as the custom shop, and just sell all the other guitars. I might just do that because, like I said, if I modify the Suhr, it's going to kill it. And that kind of annoyed me, that Suhr, anyway, because I don't think you should buy an instrument of that price and quality. They do make great stuff. They do have great customer service. They do amazing setups when you receive the guitar, although I had to send it back twice for that. I don't understand a lot of their choices. I don't understand why their tuners are so bad. I don't understand why they don't like have a more modern approach to the saddles that makes them more comfortable when they're a company that do sort of tweak things and make things better than the vintage ones. Time for my itchy nose at 5 o'clock. So yeah, that's kind of like, it's kind of put me off them a bit. I don't think I'll be buying another one, and I might just sell it and get the Fender. So I don't know, but I'm not going to modify something and then devalue it. That's really stupid, because you end up spending hundreds of dollars on a mod and then losing hundreds of dollars when you sell it, even more than you would lose anyway, potentially. So I'm going to do that. I think this is sensible. If you're going to try something, try it on one thing, obviously, first. So I'm going to try it on the Strat, the Fender Strat, because it needs it badly. I'm going to do that, and if that's incredible, then I might do that to the Suhr and just keep those two and sell everything else. And if I'm not completely satisfied, if I'm still not sure about the Suhr, I might just sell it and then use that money to get the Ultra, which is cheaper anyway. So watch this space. Ever tried down tuning one step and then put the capo on the second fret? Gives the strings a lovely sound. Still a standard tuning. Yeah, what you're doing with that is you're basically making a short scale guitar, aren't you? You're making a short scale guitar by doing that, in a way. Thomas Moore said, get an Eric Johnson. I had a red Eric Johnson years ago from Guitar Center. That was a cool guitar, but it wasn't the specs that I want. You see, the specs that I want are, I want a vintage style guitar, Fender, and I want a modern. I've decided I need a modern guitar. I don't like noiseless pickups, but I need them. I need noiseless pickups. I don't like the idea of string trees and locking tuners, but I need them. I need tuning stability. Like, I need a guitar that I can gig with, and that I won't care if anything happens to it, because it's not a one-off unique guitar. So that's why I'd like to gig with something like the Ultra Strat, and then I've got this one behind me that's like my custom shop that I'll just keep here and use at home. But even that needs some work. You see, there's a lot of guitars now where you have to do so much work to them to get them how you want them to be. And some of that is personal preference. Like with a setup, you have to set them up to your preference. But there's some things I just think are inexcusable. Like I've had so many guitars the last couple of years with bad tuners that are not responsive. And people don't take it seriously. But to me, that's like a huge deal. If the tuners don't work well, I think that's a really big problem. I had that with the Martin. I told you I'd say some bad things, didn't I? The Martin GPC, they replaced the tuners. They were still not that great. They were better, but still not perfect. They were crap. And then it's the first time I've swore on the channel. And then the Suhr, those tuners are not good. They don't register properly. So I don't like that. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And then with some companies like Fender, you think to yourself, oh well, you know, that's normal now. They're not doing good quality control. Well, no, actually, there is a point there, and there are times when you need to change components, and there's also a reason for ordering a custom instrument from some companies, because you can really order exactly what you want. The only problem with that is you've got to know exactly what you want, and you can't change your mind because you're stuck with that, again, custom instrument that would be hard to sell. At least with a standard Fender, you can sell it on and get most of your money back if you need to, right? So that's the problem with custom. Custom can be great, and it can be a real problem too. Thomas Moore says, my G&L Legacy is great. I know, Thomas, but based on going back to last week's conversation, I want it to be a Fender. Sorry. I apologize. Do I need... We'll talk about that. Will, let me just show you this guitar, and then we'll talk about that. So they actually have one which is 7 pounds 12 ounces coming in, which is still heavier than the Suhr, The Sir is £7 4 ounces. So it is about 7 ounces heavier than I would like. I know the math's not right. I'm not being too specific here. It's about 7 ounces heavier, but it has some features that I like. So this is it here. And as you can see, these are often £8, £9, £8, 2. So £7, 12 ounces is a great thing to start with. It's light for one of these guitars. And then what you have is, what I was showing you last week, you have the locking tuners already on there. Well, that looks like that one's got something on the headstock. Look. Anyway, it's got the locking tuners there already. It's got the string tree already that can easily be changed to a 3-string tree. The screw's already there, the hole's already there. It doesn't have stainless steel frets like the Sir, but I mean none of my guitars do anyway. It does have a recessed heel that the Sir doesn't have, which I really like, so that's cool. And it has the modern saddles here, so they don't stick out. That's really nice. And it has the S1 switch, so you can turn off the humbucker and make it single coil. That's really nice. My Sir does have that. They did add that for me, to be fair. That was nice of them. And it has noiseless pickups. And I'm a bit on the fence with noiseless pickups because I'd rather not have noiseless pickups, but I think when you're gigging, they're really useful. And these ones are good in the Ultra guitars. So I think for a gigging guitar, that would be really great. And then I've got my custom shop behind me as well. So I think I'm going to end up with those two. But I'm still just thinking about it. But I just don't want to modify a Sir and then, you know, shoot myself in the foot by doing that because no one wants to buy it anymore. Thomas Moore says the humbucker gives you a lot of flexibility. Yeah, actually, I don't really need a humbucker because I don't play metal, but you're right. If you're playing like 80s covers, the humbucker is useful. And then the S1 switch basically turns off the humbucker into a single, and then you can play that. You know, you have best of both basically. It's really nice. It's really nice. So yeah, I think I'd like that. I'd like a modern Strat and a vintage Strat. And actually, my Strat behind me is kind of a mixture of modern and vintage. But that's the custom. Basically, I have that as the custom shop, more vintage style. This is the more modern style. Have those two. That's where I'm thinking about going. And then just do a massive a massive sell-off. But that's still I'm just talking off the top of my head. This is not. Don't tell anyone I said that. It's not definite yet. But I do get I get frustrated with I get frustrated with people that sell stuff that has these things, and I'll just say it. You know, I am. You probably know if you watch my channel. I am fussy. All right. I'll just say it. Might as well say it. I'm fussy. There's better words to use, but I'll just say I'm fussy. But the fact of the matter is there are some things that should not happen when you buy something. The prices now are so high. Even that Fender's now $2,200 for the Ultra. When they came out, they were like $1,800, right? And all these prices now are high. And I'm okay with that. I understand that. But I don't like these problems. And again, one way to not get so many problems in life is to not try so many different things. I'm aware of that as well. But I just want to put this out there for people to be aware of, you know. And I also think it's good to hold people accountable for stuff. And sometimes you're not too fussy. Sometimes something just isn't done very well, and they should be told. I'm not being mean about it. You know, I just like to put the facts out there, just so things can improve. Hopefully, will they improve? I don't know. I'll probably just get a lot of hate for saying things that are against certain brands, but it's just my experience, you know. Does Sweetwater cut any deal for you on price? Well, I've shopped with my sales engineer for 10 years, and I think I might have been one of his best customers. So I think if I ask him to do me a deal, he will. And then I think they do for a lot of people. And the other thing is, if you want to buy a demo, like there's a demo model here for $1979.99, that's a good way to save money as well. But I think the good thing about Sweetwater is they assign you a sales engineer. You get to work with them. They get to learn what you like. You build up, I guess, a relationship, you know, because they know what you like. If there's a problem, they'll speak to you. You haven't got to phone up and speak to a stranger. So that's their business model. So, but based on that, I think I will get a discount. If you mean as a doing YouTube videos, then no. But remember, if you want to help my channel, you can use my affiliate link when you buy your guitar, and it'll help me out. But or if you're going to buy something like a Fender, then phone them up and get yourself a discount. Or at least ask first of all if they'll give you a discount, and if they say no, then order it with my link because it won't affect anything. But yes, over the years they've always price matched. I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it? It's quite a personal thing, Thomas, because at the end of the day, I imagine in life, and with what I'm trying to say is not just Sweetwater, but anything, right? If you're a loyal customer, if you spend a lot of time and money in a place, I guess you might get some better deals. Maybe I'm saying the wrong thing, but people tell me that they cut them deals. They're very competitive, and they have been with me. So again, it's just my experience. Maybe the Acoustalock is for people who use strap locks. You can't put them on when the cable is in. Okay, is that what it is? Are they for strap locks? T said, had knock on my door. My dog has an operation tomorrow. I have to travel to the next county to get it done. My own vet was trying to ring to see if all was okay. He couldn't get through. He called to the house. All right. Well, I hope your dog's okay. And it's good that they're checking up like that, isn't it? I'm Woody says, I hated the tuners Martin put on the Streetmaster own for a while. Extremely hard to turn. And that was poorly cut too. Martin needs to redesign their gig bag, which isn't sized correctly. Yeah, you see, these are little things that are a problem. But I mean, it really surprised me that the Suhr has this problem with the tuners. It really surprised me because it's not like, and it's weird. It's not like just one or two. It's all of them. So it might be the design of the tuners, but I just don't want that. And maybe that's just me. I don't want my tuner to have to turn halfway around the headstock before it engages. I want it to start tuning straight away. So that could just be me. That could just be me not liking those tuners they've chosen to use, and that could be me. Maybe I should have done my own custom order and said I want this specific tuner. But, yeah, it could just be me. But the choices there just baffle me on an instrument like that. I'm like, I don't get it. And then like I said, I don't want to change them and have to drill new holes or add a string tree because the new tuners are not staggered and then devalue the instrument. That's how I'm thinking, because I'm a bit like, I haven't even had a chance to really gel with the guitar now. I've just been in and out the door so much. I haven't really, so I don't know. It gave me cold feet, basically. Yes, T, I agree. That's very good. Jasper says, the answer is sometimes practice with a strap, but without the cable. Okay, secures the guitar without the need of a strap button. Yes, so if you're not plugging the strap in, so when you plug in the cable, when you plug in the cable, that is securing the strap. Right. That's nice. You're saying if you play without the cable, it's secure. So how does it secure it? Because if you use the strap without the cable, how is that different to using the Acoustalock? Or does the Acoustalock, is that basically a strap lock? So I just never, again, I better knock on wood, I've never had a guitar fall off the strap. And it's like on the Cole Clark, they put the strap button on the back of the guitar, and some people say that's weird, like it leans and it's not normal, like on a Martin where they put it on the heel. But I've never had a Cole Clark in the last 12 months of gigging a Cole Clark. I never had it fall off. So I also stopped using strap locks as well on my electric guitar. I never had it fall off. Then again, it could happen, it could break. So I don't blame you for doing it, but sometimes we learn these things too late, right? After they've happened. Doc McFarlane says, hi, how you doing, buddy? Is my audio okay this week, Doc? Let me know. Best Martin acoustic for $600 to $1,000. I don't think the Martins, I don't think I'll be recommending a Martin until you get to around $2,000. That's the problem I have with that question. But feel free to tell me in the chat what you think. Let's do it from price low to high. Let's see what we got. Yeah, I think when you're looking at under $1,000, you should look at Yamaha and other brands. But let's go here and see what we can get for that price. What's the first guitar that comes up when we search for by price, low to high. The first guitar that comes up is the Backpacker. All right, so, you know, enough. I don't need to say anything about that, do I? I don't think you're looking for a Backpacker guitar. I think you're looking for a guitar. So, you've got the LX1s, the small body guitars. I don't think you want that. You've got the Dread Junior, the small Dreadnought. I think you want a full-size guitar. So you've got something like the DX1E. Like we were saying earlier, sometimes these are all laminate, and sometimes laminate is good if the humidity is a problem. Let's keep going here. I haven't played all these, but there's nothing here that really jumps out to me. I think the first guitar we might get to that I would recommend, is actually something like that Street Master we were just talking about. And more this Whiskey Sunset. And they do a Dreadnought and an OM kind of sized one of that. So the Whiskey Sunset is the DSS, this one. But it's 1800. You said 1000. You know, I'm a bit of a snob, but the first guitar that I would recommend from Martin for the lowest price is this at 1800. Now you could look for one of these used and maybe get it for 1500, 1400. But this is actually a really good sounding guitar. This is satin finish, like their new 18s that came out in 28. Very light, as you can see, and satin finish. I've played one of these at Groons. It was excellent. So if you could make it to one of these, I would get this, $1,800, or look for it used. Under 1,000, I'm going to say, I mean, there's so many, you know, Yamaha, Recording King, there's just other brands that I think are a better value for money under 1,000. For me, the Martins they come into their own more when you get to the standard series, and then you're starting at around 2,300, which is way above your budget. Okay, so. Thomas Moore, does the Anthem SL sound as good as the full Anthem? So I'll try and make it as quick as I can. The SL is cheaper than the full. The SL doesn't have a battery check light, but you don't need it because the battery lasts for months and months and months. The SL doesn't have the blend control, but I always run mine on full mic blend anyway, so I don't need it. And the SL has a smaller module, which I think is good because I don't think it affects the sound having the bigger module, but the smaller module means you can mount it further back and it does weigh less. The SL supposedly has more volume and a cleaner sound, but actually I was disappointed with that. I didn't find that. Maybe slightly so, but not really. I found them to be the same, but maybe that was just that guitar. And the Anthem is quite a low output pickup compared to other pickups. But if you go into something with a gain control, it doesn't matter, like a mixer. It doesn't matter anyway. It's a bit noisier as well, but the sound is really good. It's a mic and an undersaddle. It's a really good sound. One of the best sounds that I've had, and it's very stable. So the SL is the version that I would recommend you get, unless you need the full, because you can have all piezo pickup. But I never want that, so I just didn't get that, and it's more money. So, do they sound the same? Yes, the SL sounds the same as the full on full mic blend, which is never full mic blend, but. Oh, I missed one here about noise suppressor. That's right. That's why I don't like to miss questions and come back. I always forget to do it. So I've tried it. I've got a noise suppressor, I've got a noise suppressor on the Quad Cortex. They're a nice idea. Like we were talking about noiseless pickups, right? I don't like noiseless pickups. I don't mind a bit of noise, and the noiseless ones never have such a bright sound. I like that chimey, bright sound. But the new Ultra noiseless pickups, they've been out for a few years. I'm told they're very good. And the thing is, they don't need a battery or anything. They are passively noiseless, so they're obviously using some kind of dummy coil or something. The problem with a noise gate, noise suppressor, is it cuts off too much of the information for me. Like if you play really quietly, then it kills your sustain because it cuts off the note. It turns the gate on and cuts the sound off. I would rather not have any of that. I'd rather have just a nice clean sound And I mean, sometimes you want that. Like if you're playing heavy metal, then heavy metal. If you're playing metal, you want that gate to kick in, and you get those chugs, and it cuts off the sound in between them and makes them very like staccato and clean. So then you would want it, and then I would use it if I played that. But if you're playing like clean guitar and you're using a noise gate to fix the buzzing of the pickups, I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think noiseless pickups is a better way, or either live with the noise or have noiseless pickups. I think is a much better solution, because it's even the best noise gates are going to kill your tone, aren't they? I love Martin, but Yamaha or Alvarez. Yeah, I said start, John. I said Yamaha for under 1,000, definitely. Seagulls. I haven't played any Seagulls, Woody. Vic G, you don't like any of the Rhodes Series guitars? I thought they were really good guitars. I got one myself, the GPC 13E. I haven't played them all, and I do see the point of a laminate guitar for durability and having something that you can take around with you everywhere you go and travel with, etc. If you're worried about your D45 getting scratched, I understand all that. I don't like the. I'm quite fussy with the neck. Like I don't like the feel of the neck on the cheaper Martins. It's quite rough. I actually had a Rhodes Series years ago where a luthier waxed the back of the neck and made it like a regular neck, and it was really nice. But they don't come like that, so I don't like that feel of the neck on those Rhodes Series. And they all tend to have the undersaddle pickups. I mean, you can always change those out for the Anthem, I guess. No, I mean maybe I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm playing the HDC 28E right now, and I've got the custom OM, so maybe I'm the wrong person to ask. But I would, if you said to me right now, do you want a Rhodes Series for 1,000 or a Yamaha for 1,000? Even as a Martin fan, I think the sensible thing for me would be to say the Yamaha. So. It's time to start educating parents who say, my child wants a guitar, we'll buy him a cheap one to see if he likes it and then buy a better one. Yes, because you end up not playing it. You want a guitar that plays well and sounds good. Although most guitars now are much higher quality than they used to be fair. T says, I tried the Spark and Spark Mini amp last night. Great sound of the Mini Spark. Really? I didn't like the Mini at all. For me, it was too small, and it was good for. I mean, this all depends on what you play. If you're playing distortion only, it's good because distortion sounds naturally compress, right? So you don't have a problem with headroom. When you play like a super clean sound through the Spark Mini, it immediately starts to clip at noon because the transient spikes of the clean sound. So that was no good for me at all. And at that point, it was so quiet that I didn't see the point. And now there's one that's even smaller, which I think I see even less point in. The full Spark I do like. But again, I've got a couple of really nice amps, so I don't really ever use it. God. Oh dear. But yeah, I mean, there's way too many amplifiers these days, right? There's too many ways to amplify your electric guitar. Let's just say that. But I understand the Spark more than the Spark Mini. But then again, the Mini is rechargeable and you can take it around with you. So again, if you need that, this all comes down to what you need, doesn't it? If you're always at home, if you live in a house and you're always in your house and you've got the ability to buy a tube amp and play it loud, I think that's a great thing. If you live in an apartment and you want to spend $300 and you have everything in one box, then the Spark is a good option, definitely. The Spark Mini for me is just I personally needed a bit more volume than that offers, and there's now one that's even smaller. But so for that reason, I can't believe I'd like that one because it's even smaller than that one. Did you sell the GPC 28? I did. I never liked the sound of that as much as the HDC, and although it's got a smaller body. That was the reason. They were too similar. The GPC and the HDC were too similar in size, and the GPC plugged in just didn't sound as full as the HDC. So I don't have that anymore. I sold it. I changed the tuners, and then I decided, again, sometimes this happens with me. If I have like a bad, maybe this is a problem, but if I have a bad experience with something, sometimes that pushes me over the edge to sell it, you know? Because I'm like, I don't want to deal with that anymore. Like, I went through all that. It made it bad for me. I don't want it now. So I do have a habit of doing that. I should maybe not listen to my feelings so much. But then again, that's also a good way to sell gear that I'm not using. SC13E, that's interesting. I did consider those, but no. I didn't love the custom shop guitar. I didn't think it sounded as good as like a standard series. The neck is super thin on the custom shop version. And the custom shop version had some real sloppy binding work. The binding wasn't coming off, but the binding was sloppily done. So I didn't keep that. That was way too much money to have problems with the finish on a guitar. But I haven't really tried the standard series. Well, I tried it at NAMM, but that was not the place to try it. Again, the problem with that guitar for me is I'm gonna want to change the pickup, I'm sure, and it's gonna have a really thin neck, and I don't know. Not really on my radar for some reason. The HDC is too big for me, but it is a great guitar. And I am 6'5", so it looks semi-normal on me. And Martin don't really have many other body sizes. The GPC for me and the M sizes are a bit like, for me, the OMs and the HDs are they're what I like, you know. I like those two body shapes. And this all depends on the guitar as well, by the way, because I've played plenty of OMs I don't like the sound of, and plenty of OMs I do like the sound of, and plenty of Dreadnoughts I don't like the sound of. This isn't, you can't just say I like this model. There's all different variations in the way guitars are built, the way the woods sound, the way they're set up, and the strings and everything all makes a difference. But again, I talk about consistency. The HDC has been a guitar that I've had for many years that has just repeatedly proven itself. And that's why I would never sell that one. And you can't buy them anymore either, which I think is a big mistake, to not offer any more standard series cutaways in the lineup. I think that's a big mistake, because a lot of people need that cutaway and they want a standard series guitar. And Gibson and Martin don't do that anymore, which I think is very strange. So, yeah, that's what Thomas, yeah. I mean, apparently it's all based on market research, but I don't understand why they come to these conclusions. The GPC you can get now is one of the cheaper series. There's no standard series Martin with a cutaway. There used to be the GPC, the HDC, and the DC18. And I think maybe an OMC as well. They've all gone. Now it's just non-cutaways. I don't get it. I'd love to see an MC28 and a GPC 28 in the lineup, and I think HDC is a great guitar because you get that big Dreadnought sound if that's what you're into, and you get the cutaway and the pickup in there, and you can plug in and play any gig. I think it's a great. I don't understand it. I know Gary that watches the show has one. He got one after he saw mine. I've had one for years, and again, it's continually proven itself at gigs over and over and over again, which is why I would never sell it, and why I've decided I might start gigging that now as my main guitar. So I don't know why they bring it back. But also remember this is all business. And remember that what companies do, if you hadn't realized already, is that they discontinue things and they bring them back a few years later as a new product. You know that? Like Fender, with Fender, you couldn't get a blue Fender for a long time. And then when they brought out the Ultra guitars, they had a blue one. So then you want to buy it. Oh, they got a blue one now, buy that. Right now in the standard Fender line, you can't get a red Strat. So what will happen next year? There'll be a red Strat, I'm sure. What do Martin do? They discontinue the cutaway standard series. What will happen next year? I bet you'll see a cutaway in the standard series for a while. That would go away again. This is how you generate more income, isn't it? It's how you make more money. You can't just, and also you can't, to be fair, you can't just offer all the instruments, because you've got to make the instruments. You can't just say, we'll have everything. That's why you have a custom shop. So then someone can say, I want a custom HDC. But it was so nice a few years ago when you could just go online and buy a GPC, an OMC, or an HDC as the standard series with a pickup in it. That was great. That was a good time. All wood for $1,000 or laminate for $1,300. I'll be going for all wood once I like the sound. All wood is great. I mean, like I said, laminate has its bonuses, but an all wood guitar is gonna, probably last you longer and open up more. And when I say last longer, I mean as an instrument for you. I think that's a good way to go if you can stretch it to that. Might as well buy a Taylor for a cutaway, and OMC would be great. Taylor for a cutaway, yes. I mean, the GBC was basically Martin's version of a Taylor, wasn't it? But again, you've got to find that Taylor that you like, and I haven't got to that point. The Spark wasn't anywhere near as good as my amp. That's how I felt. It's not as good as my amp anyway. But the thing about the Spark, you have to remember, it is an impressive gadget with the app and everything. It does have built-in all the effects built in. So if you were to buy a solid-state amp and a pedal board with all those effects, it would be thousands of dollars. The Spark, the main Spark amp, is a great option if you're new to guitar. Like if you could get something like let's say you got a $500 Yamaha Electric, $800 Yamaha Electric, and the Spark amp. You could then learn the guitar with all the effects, all the tones, everything you need. You can go, and I think that's a great thing. So I'm not against it at all, but I think if you're like me and you're gigging and you're a bit of a tone snob, I think the Boss Katana, the Tone Master Fender, and a little analog pedal board is obviously going to be much better than that. It just is. It's just more money. It's just a more professional option. Really, I don't think you're going to gig a Spark amp the way you can gig a pedal board and an amp. Thomas Moore just got the Nobles ODR1 Mini. It's cool. Yeah, I like everyone's got the mini pedals now. That new Peterson mini pedal is awesome. I really like that little mini distortion I got on mine. The Moxie. That Moxie overdrive is awesome. I got the Moxie on my pedal board. So, but again, I don't want to be too. I don't want to leave today on the wrong point. All gear has it, and I also don't want to come across as just trying to be everyone's friend either. I believe it's important to have an opinion, but all gear has its place. There's not much gear that's rubbish. Some gear is rubbish to me because it doesn't do what I expected it to do or what I want it to do. To someone else, it could be the best thing ever made. So you have to remember that. You have to find the stuff that you think is good. It's also like, I love watching gear channels. I watch them all the time, and I get upset when they don't make a video because I love just watching gear channels. But you also have to remember that it's only ever their opinion. Some opinions are biased. Some opinions are financially biased. And I ain't got a problem with that either. I would, I'll make a sponsored video. It's fine, right? All this is fine. But you have to remember that, when you watch I love Sweetwater. When you watch Sweetwater, they are a store selling you a product. When you watch a YouTuber that's got an ad, they are getting paid to run that ad. So I'm not saying it doesn't make their videos reliable or fair or whatever, but you just have to have that in the back of your mind at all time. And as well as that, you have to try stuff yourself, because hearing a demo online is nothing like, you know how it is. You hear a guitar through your phone, and then you play it in person in your living room. It's completely different. So remember that as well. So I've got no problem with the Spark. Like, the Spark is a great thing for the price and what it does. But I bought one and I used it for the review, and I haven't really used it since. Actually, I used it a few weeks ago, and I liked it more than I did when I did the review, which was interesting. It's almost like I had my review goggles on. But I also realized, like, I have the Quad Cortex. The Quad Cortex for me was a big game changer because I love that thing. It's a great digital option. But I also love to just plug into an amp and play. Now, my Mesa amp is, £50 or whatever. So it's not the best choice for a gig, but neither is the Spark. So what you've got to do is figure out what you need and what you want, and try not to go around too many roundabouts to find it. So you've got to think, right, am I gigging out? Do I need an amp? Do I need to use headphones? Do I need both? What do I need? How much power do I need? Because this is what the guy that I did a lesson with yesterday, I keep calling it session. He said to me he was going to buy a 50-watt amp. And I said, look, don't buy a 50-watt PA amp for your first gig, because what's going to happen is if you just told me you want to do more gigs, get yourself a proper PA speaker. Like spend a bit more money, a couple of $100 more. Get a PA speaker that can then grow with you and will just sound much better anyway, even though it weighs a bit more. That's what you want. You don't want the little tiny busking amp when you're talking about doing parties full time. You want a PA system. So with some gear, it's very obvious. It's the same with the acoustic guitar. Someone said earlier, Dr. McFarlane said, Martin for $1,000. Now, if you really want a Martin for $1,000, then that's great, and there are options. But I just think it's better to wait and get a Martin for $2,300, like a standard series Martin, that will just last, as long as you're sure that's what you want, will last you forever, than to get the $1,000 one. Or to, even though I said earlier I don't want to get a Yamaha, personally, if you're up for a Yamaha, then a Yamaha at $1,000 is a better option, I think. So it's really about knowing what you need. The problem with a lot of gear is you don't know what you need, and you end up trying it all and wasting a lot of time and money trying it all. Okay, it's fun as well, but you got to be careful, right? Because there's so many. That's the biggest problem there. There's so many options. There's too many options for everything. So, Thomas Moore says, "Is Moxie a Tube Screamer type pedal?" Yes, with a mode that changes the mid-range to make it less honky Tube Screamer and more like a Tumnus style type pedal, you know. More of a softer mid-range. It's really nice. Alan says, talking gear is like fishing. You mostly talk about the one you didn't get. I agree. And also, I think the thing to remember is, you know, talking about gear is great. That's why I do the Monday streams. Not just to like give people my opinion, my advice on what they should buy, but also, like you said, it's great to talk about it. And you can talk about it without buying everything. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way as well. It's really good to look at guitars, to talk about guitars, to discuss options, but be careful before you put your credit card information in the computer, because that could be a total disaster, as I found out several times in my life. When I say several, I mean hundreds. Thomas Moore says, I think I want the Stomp XL. I have a Podgo now. Do you think that'd be a big upgrade? Oh, that's a tough question. So the Stomp XL does have sounds and power that the Podgo doesn't have, right? And also effects and things. The latest update that they released is very good. It's got a really nice Dumble clone in there. It's just really hard to answer that because the Podgo is cheaper. It has the expression pedal. The Stomp XL doesn't have the expression pedal, and it doesn't have much more DSP. What I didn't like about the HX Stomp XL is they didn't take the opportunity to improve the DSP. So although you've got those extra switches, you don't have any more DSP than the actual Stomp. I think you're better off getting a Stomp and adding some other pedals to it, or a more powerful processor. Like, I like the Quad Cortex because I personally think it sounds better, but also I like the fact it's not much bigger than the Stomp XL and has all the extra power the Stomp XL doesn't have. I think you might want to stick with your Podgo because you've got the foot pedal in there, everything in one. It's really light. I think if you've got the sounds that you like now in the Podgo, you should stick with it. But if there's a sound you particularly want in the Stomp, I would personally rather get a Stomp and a MIDI controller pedal and then add some other pedals to it as well and make a board around that. But Stomp XL, yeah, if you're absolutely sure that's what you want and it have enough DSP, then that's okay. But that's not a route that I would personally go for the reasons that I said. Oh, excuse me. What are your thoughts on new Fishman Acoustic Mini series of pedals? I have them. I'm going to do a video about them. And I feel really bad I haven't done it yet, but I just had too many gigs the last 2 weekends, which is a great problem to have. But I need to sit down and film the video of the pedals. I have tried them. They are very good. They're not something that I'm going to use at my gigs because I use multi-effects. I use the TC Helicon Voice Live 3 Extreme. But if you want to make a mini pedal board, then they're a very good way to go. And so many people now are... The reason I want to talk about them is that so many people are making mini pedal boards now. with mini pedals. Like I have one for my electric guitar, so basically it's all mini pedals apart from the delay pedal. So that's a great way to go. If you don't want to do something like a Stomp XL, the mini pedal board is a great way to go. Like I said earlier, there's a million ways to cook an egg these days. T said, that's what I meant about great fun. So easy to get sounds up. I typed in breathe and loads of options came up. I became David Gilmour at a touch of a button. You mean the Spark? Yeah. The Spark app is very good. The way it can tell you the chords to a song and everything. The thing again with the Spark amp, it initially it kept crashing on me. The app kept crashing, and it wouldn't translate the chords accurately. And I was about to make the YouTube video about it, and they released this firmware update that they didn't even talk about, and it fixed all those issues. It's really random. That's the problem with Gear now. You can just wait for a bug fix, about to sell the thing, and they fix it, out of nowhere. So that is a nice thing to have. That works pretty well. And you're right. You can just say, I want to play this song. It gives you the song, gives you the chords, and gives you the tone to play. That is really nice, and that's what modern technology should do. Make life very easy like that. So I agree. Yeah, the Spark is cool. Initially, I just didn't think it sounded very good. And then later on, I thought, I think happened with that product? I think I had this hype in my head from when it released, and it was massively overhyped. This happens with Gear 2. I think I thought it was going to sound $1 million, and it just sounded very good. And I think the high gain stuff sounds better than the low gain, because I think with the low gain stuff, you need the bigger speakers, you need the more headroom, right? Will says, I upgraded from Podgo to Stomp XL. More effects and pass, but Podgo is easier for travel. Yep. That's the funny thing with the Helix. They made the Helix floor, and then they made all those different spin-offs of the same product, right? So the Helix floor is the flagship. Then they made the Helix LT. Then they made the Helix FX. Then they made the Helix Stomp. Then the Stomp XL. Then the Pod Go. And they're all basically the same thing, but in different packages. So if you can afford it and have the space for it, the Helix floor is the best way to go. If you don't have the space, then you choose the one that you can afford and fits what you need. So the HX Stomp is great. The HX Stomp as your main brain, and then the MIDI controller and other pedals added on that use MIDI to control them with that same controller. That's what I would do, and that's what I've done in the past. Or just the full HX Stomp floorboard. If you want just everything in one box. Everything else is just a spin-off of the same product, right? But like I said, I like the Quad Cortex because what I wanted the Stomp XL to have more DSP and more new cool effects, and they didn't do that. They just made a bigger pedal. So that wasn't what I wanted them to do. There's not even a mic input on that. To get a mic input, you have to go to the Helix floor, and that's too big for me. So it's funny, isn't it? The reason I like the Quad Cortex, they've had a lot of problems. They've made a lot of promises they didn't deliver on, but the actual format of the thing is amazing. The size of it, it's about the size of a MacBook Pro, and it has 2 mic inputs. So for me, that's a real killer format. All right, it's 5:30. I'm going to wrap things up because it's been an hour and a half now. So as always, if you're new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. It really helps me out to get those numbers up. Let me put that on the screen. And I'm not going to promise videos anymore because usually it doesn't happen. So if you just subscribe and ring the bell, when I do make a new video and post it or go live, and I usually live every Monday at 4 o'clock. But if I do post a video, you'll just get notified of the video that I've posted if you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell and ask for all notifications to come through, and make sure your device has all notifications enabled as well. So that's the best way to handle that. And I'm sure there will be something up this week. I just don't want to promise something and not have it at that time. And I will be here next Monday, so I hope to see you then. It's always good to hang out and chat about how things are going. So have a great week. Enjoy. Play some guitar, and let me know next week if you've done any modifications, bought anything, or looked at anything online, so we can talk about it then. So thanks for watching. Take care. All the best to everyone. Thank you to Rosanna for moderating, and really appreciate it. Luckily, there's been no trolls lately, but you never know these days on the internet, so it's good to have her there with the with the spanner. That's a great point. Pooh says surprises are fun. Yes. Thank you, Rosanna. Appreciate it. Yep. All right. Take care. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for all your questions and comments. I always learn something new and have something new to think about during the week, which is awesome. I'll look forward to seeing you next week, if not before. Take care and be well. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
I'm not lost, but I'm not found. I'm not up, but I'm not